Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm Manny and this is actually still the same day, for me at least. And let's continue with our quest through the campaign. So these right here, these are these two little skitterbots that I get from the last hour that I got. And you can see the lightning around the enemies and the little white effect. This is from the shock. And maybe we can see it a little bit better on other enemies. The white effect right here is from the slow, from the chill that these skitterbots apply. And if I hover over the enemy, you can see these little boxes below them. And one of them, the 10%, is for the chill, and the 15% icon is for the shock effect. So there you can also see that they were affected. There's another enemy. Okay, this one dropped a little bit more items. I don't really know what I want. Maybe a ruby ring for fire resistance. Usually during leveling, I don't really pay much attention what gear I'm using. Normally I just look at the sockets and only take the equipments that give me the higher socket numbers or the linked sockets that I need in the colors that I need, because during leveling I usually don't want to spend my currency, but I always have to remind myself that I started a hardcore character this time and I should keep an eye on it, because I'm not a really good player, so I need all the help that I can get to not die. And like I said before, if you just run faster through the game and don't kill everything, then usually your level will be a little bit lower. So you have less HP, your gems are not as leveled as they could be, and all this makes the game a little bit tougher. So this is the last bandit, and I will also choose to kill this one. Okay. This was all that I needed from this region. We'll just go back to the waypoint and to the exclamation mark down here, because this is the way forward that I need to take. And to unlock this way, you need, if you can remember, I had this quest item from the spider in here. You need this item to go forward. Okay, I should really be more careful how I'm playing. I'm just so used to playing softcore that I usually just use flame dash to dash into a room. Okay, he leeches life, so I will just try to kill him. Okay. If you have played another game like maybe Diablo or I don't know, something else where you have a character, you may be familiar with Life Leech, but if not, Life Leech just means that if you deal damage to an enemy, then you'll leech some of their life. Well, a percentage of the damage you dealt heals you. And there are specific mechanics in Path of Exile, like you have different types of leech. You have leech that only applies to melee physical attacks, or some leech effects apply to spells as well. Then you can leech either life or you could leech energy shield. So there are different types, and it has a somewhat complex mechanic how it's working with the amount of leech that is recovered. But for the beginning, it's enough that you know it exists, and if you get a character that uses leech in the late game, then that is the point where you should maybe check it out in the wiki or watch a YouTube video where it's explained correctly or in detail. And here a calling wand dropped. That's one of the minion ones, the same that I bought from the vendor, but this one has 16% increased minion damage. The one that I bought only has 12%. So I will just resocket them, because luckily the new one also has the same sockets. You can just drop the old one. And now, what I like to do, if you press Ctrl on your keyboard, then you get the second bar, and I think I also already showed this. I've already shown this with clarity and vitality. I will just place my skitterbots right here, so I can just resummon them, because I had them in my wand that I just switched, and because I took out the gem, I had to recast it. You can see down here is an icon for a way, but this is once again experience. I know that down there is an optional area that I don't need to go to. I think it actually gives you a Steam achievement if you bought Path of Exile. Well, if you downloaded Path of Exile via Steam, then you have the Steam achievements. And I think one of them is to completely clear this area, the optional down there. I'm not sure, but I think it is. But I want to go up now and find the way to the next area. And I hope it's okay if I just try to move a little bit faster now and not explain every single detail of every enemy, because honestly, first of all, I don't know all the skills that all these enemies use, and second of all, it's also not really important, because with most skills you just kill them anyway pretty fast, or they don't do enough damage to be really a challenge. And on the other hand, I think it's also good if you, well, if I can show you the basics, how you can play the game and still have some things left that you can explore for yourself or experience for yourself. Well, I'm not quite sure. I've never done a playthrough like this. On the one hand, I think, well, it's a guided playthrough, so I should explain things. But, well, minion skills, well, enemy skills. Right here, you can see these green things around this enemy. That means, or you can also see the green line, Storm Cultist Grip. That means this enemy is possessed. There are some possessed spirits. They are usually a little bit larger than my character, and they are these green or teal spirits that can float around. And if he finds a rare enemy, then he can crawl into it and possess it, and the enemy gets stronger, and he will usually drop better loot as well. And other enemies that are not rare and the spirit passes, they get touched, and I think they also have increased loot. And I think this was also one of the previous League mechanics that I haven't played back then, I think. And this one right here, you can also see the icon on the map, the shield and hammer or something like this. This is a crafting receipt. If I take it, then I've learned it. And if I go to my hideout now, I don't know if I've shown this before, but you have a crafting bench in your hideout. This crafting bench can have different appearances. Right now mine looks like a gravestone. That's because I chose this hideout. I should have showed you this before, but this is one of the things that I forgot. I think the hideout, you can usually select the hideout from Helena. If you talk to her, you can select the hideout. And I can't remember which hideouts are available at the beginning. I have unlocked already a couple more, because in some areas you can find a way to another small area that looks like the hideout, where you have to kill all the enemies inside and then you unlock this hideout. And in the beginning I think you could just click on one or just click on the button right here, and I think in the beginning it would probably say select or something like this. For me, because I already have a hideout, it says swap, and I could change the hideout to one of the ones that I have unlocked. And currently I'm using the unearthed hideout because I'm playing as Necromancer and I always liked the style of Necromancer. I also selected this hideout, and they usually come with some decoration already placed. And if you click this arrow pointing up right here in the hideout, then you will get the hideout menu. And if you click the big button right here with edit, then you can, well, first of all, you see the name of all the items that are here. And if you click on one of them, you get this icon. Here you can, with left click inside these two circles right here, you can drag and drop this around, and this will rotate the item. So if I want to rotate it by about 90% decrease in this direction, I let go of the mouse button and it will just rotate. Now I can put it back approximately the way it was before. And if I click inside the middle ring right here, I can drag and drop it. And if you hover over the eye right here, then it would give you a description what you can do. And one of the things is the second to last. To change the variation of a decoration, use the mouse wheel or press page up, page down. So the crafting bench, for example, has different variations. I'm using this one. It says crafting bench 4 if you look in this area. And if I press page up or page down, it changes, and it also changes the appearance. So if yours looks different, that is because you're most likely in another hideout and have another theme, and therefore also use another hideout. But this is the way you can change it. But I'm not trying to make a hideout tutorial, so I'm just clicking on the crafting bench. And the crafting bench allows you to add one modifier to an item. You have here the distinction between a prefix and a suffix. This is once again something that I can't remember if I explained, but let's just take a look at this item. One step back, I go in the options. In the input menu, there is this option right here, show advanced item descriptions. I have mine set to set. That's the same thing that I use over the skills to show me some more detailed information. And for items, if I hover over this one and I press my advanced tooltip hotkey, I see some more information about the modifiers. So if you look at in the middle now, 26 to maximum mana. Now I press the set key and now it's in the top line. And above it, it says prefix modifier, then the name of the modifier. In brackets, it tells me the tier. So the higher the number of the tier, that means the less valuable this modifier is. Tier 1 would be usually the maximum, the highest tier, and would have the highest values. There are some exceptions or some special named modifiers that can have even greater values, but usually tier 1 is the highest for these ones. And if we look at all the modifiers, you can see I have 2 prefix and 2 suffix modifiers, because a rare item can have 6 affixes in total, and these are split in 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. And affix is just a name for all the modifiers. So everything here is an affix, and affixes are the 2 categories, prefix and suffix. I hope that I have explained this understandably. I will leave a link to a guide in the bottom. I hope I can pronounce the name correctly, but it's from Subtractem. And I really did like the guide and it helped me a lot, so hopefully it helps you as well. But he explains it much, much better. But what the crafting bench can do, it can add either a prefix or a suffix. The exception is if an item, maybe we have one right here, no, maybe this one, okay, yes. So a magic item can only have 2 affixes. This is 1 prefix and 1 suffix. So if I place this item right here, everything is in red. If I hover over it, it says item has no space for more mods. And this is separate for prefix and suffix. So if this item only had, let's just assume this item had only the lightning resistance, but not the physical damage to attacks, then 1 prefix would be free, and then I would be able to craft one of these prefix modifiers up here. But the suffixes would still be filled and I would not be able to craft them. But for these boots, I only have 2 prefix and 2 suffix modifier, so 1 of each is free, so I would be able to craft each of those. And as you can see right here, I also have the movement speed. It's usually a lower, well, in general for all these crafted modifiers, the maximum value is usually lower than the maximum value that you could craft with other means on this. But in exchange, the crafting bench way is 100% deterministic. If I craft life, I will always get life and nothing else. For now, I will just save my currency items, because on this side right here, on the right side, you can see the cost of the items. And for some modifiers, if you click on the entry, you have different tiers that you can craft with different costs. In this case, the costs are the same, but later on, when the crafts get to a higher tier and more expensive, then you will see it. Okay, now let's just go back. We'll just sell these items. The fire resist ring I will keep for now. I can't remember which enemies come up, but this is the bandit quest that I just handed in, and it gave me the 2 skill points. Okay. Just get rid of all the exclamation marks. Okay. And now this is the quest that introduces you to the hideout. It just tells me to go to the hideout, and this will guide you through the process of selecting a hideout. But because I've already done this, I will just ignore it. She will also tell you to use the crafting bench, so you will be introduced to these mechanics as well. Okay, then let's continue. And this was the sound effect. I don't know if you could hear, if you can hear it in the video. I will just drop it again. Maybe you can hear it. And this item has a sound effect because, especially early on in the game, it's one of the rarer crafting items that you get. This jeweler's orb is used to reforge the socket number of an item. So it could be possible that I get maybe 4 sockets on an item with this. It depends on the item level as well. So I would have to check. I don't know this from the top of my head, but usually I will just pick up a Vaal link later on in the game that I can use. And this orb of fusing reforges the links between the sockets of an item. So it could be used if I have, let's say, an item with 4 sockets, but none are linked. Then I could use an orb of fusing and try to get maybe all 4 linked, but like almost all things in Path of Exile while crafting, it's random. So you could get only 2 sockets linked, or maybe 3 or all 4, or depending on the number of sockets and your luck. This area right here is a Vaal side area. You can see it on the map, this red icon right here. It also says corrupted. That is a special type of, I honestly don't know what's the correct word, maybe not. It's not really a modifier, it's just a classification of the item. If I just go back real quick, if we look at this text, you can see monsters in this area move faster, they attack faster, they cast faster, and the items in this area have the area has 15% increased quantity of items found, so the enemies just drop more items. Usually these areas are a little bit harder than the area you enter them from, but in this case it's still pretty simple. It's a short area, and at the end there is a unique enemy that you can kill and a vessel that you can open after you have killed the enemy. and there can be some special drops in the vessel. So I will just go through here. And I think I should be a little bit careful here. Some enemies have some special abilities. This one right here casts totems and casts some spells, but it was still okay. And this one right here is the Vaal vessel. And if I click on it, then it drops some items and a portal to the outside opens. Another wand. And here you can see this is one of the items that's dropped, and the last line says corrupted in red. That just means that this item usually cannot be modified anymore, but there are special currency items that work on corrupted items, but you will get these items later on, and they're also quite rare. And you can't do all the changes with the item. They mostly are used to reforge the sockets, the socket colors, and the socket links on an item. And yes, corrupting. There is a special crafting item that can be used to corrupt an item. So usually you just use this item, this crafting item, this Vaal orb, it's called, only once on an item, then it is corrupted, it gets the tag, and it has a chance to modify the item beyond. But it can be a bit risky as well. And this is a Vaal skill. We hadn't those before as well. So I will show this here. Vaal skills, if you look at the top, usually have the regular version of the skill. So in this case, summon skeletons. That's the same skill that I can just get from Act 1. And that summons just 2 skeleton warriors that fight for me. And I can have at level 1 a maximum of 5 skeletons summoned. And then there is the Vaal summon skeleton variant. I will just equip the icon. Look at currently I have 2 slots open. Now I equip this, and now I have both filled. The one with the summon skeleton and the other one with the Vaal summon skeleton. The Vaal summon skeleton is currently a little bit grayed out, and if I hover over it, it says not enough souls. So Vaal skills mean that the regular version I can use all the time. So if I press spacebar, I just summon my skeletons. But the Vaal version, if I click my right mouse button, nothing happens because, like stated, not enough souls. And you gain souls by killing enemies. It doesn't matter if you kill the enemies yourself or your minions, each kill will grant you souls, and if you have enough souls, then you can use the Vaal version of this skill. The Vaal version is usually stronger, but because of the soul mechanic, you can't use it all the time. And if we look at this skill, the summoned skeletons with the Vaal skill have a base duration of 20 seconds. That's the same one with the regular version. Then the Vaal version has a maximum of 17 skeletons summoned at a time. 14 of those skeletons are regular soldiers. Then 2 are archers, and 1 is a general that is stronger. So if you play skeletons, then the Vaal version is very nice, because for your regular way through an area, you can just use the regular version, and there is almost no difference to the regular version of this skill gem. Only later on in the game you can do some special things with a regular version that I will do with my Raging Spirits, for example. But when you reach, let's say you're fighting a boss, then you can just use the Vaal version, and if you compare it with the regular version, you only have a maximum of 5 skeletons. The Vaal version has 17, and one of which is a general that is stronger. So it's a huge damage boost. So the Vaal version could be very nice if you play skeletons. So in this case, I'm done with this area, and I will just continue. So these Vaal skill gems is something that you can find in these Vaal side areas. And you can also find some special map fragments in these Vaal side areas. And there are 4 different kinds of fragments. And later on in the game, if you use all 4, well, one of each, then you get access to a special area with some bosses where you can find special items. But this is quite a ways away. We are nowhere near doing this with this character. And this is just something that you have to decide for yourself if you want to go into these areas during the campaign or if you don't want to. I personally, with my character in Sanctum League, with my first one that I played on non-hardcore, now I'm ignited, I'm not regenerating too much life. I didn't go through many of those, but later on I saw that for me personally it was a mistake, because with these Vaal skill gems you can also, well, there is a vendor recipe that you can use to get the crafting item that I mentioned before, the Vaal orb. Here's another crafting recipe. And later on in the game I personally always need some Vaal orbs, because there are some things that you can corrupt gems and have a chance to make them stronger. And I want to do this with a new character. And at one point I had a very low amount of Vaal orbs, so I had to resort to the vendor recipe to get some Vaal orbs. And it took me quite some time to get everything that I needed. Okay, so this boss, this right here, is a big slam that you always should avoid. He usually targets it at your location, but if you just run in circles, then he should usually miss by the time he really uses it, because it has a pretty long wind-up time. But if he hits you, it does a lot of damage. And here he just drops some stones from the ceiling. These also can do quite a high amount of damage, so it's also good to avoid it. The other ones that he shoots out are not really as dangerous. And he summons these ads that you also have to kill. But as you can see, once again, I just run in circles and cast my Raging Spirits. And now I can continue to the next area. This right here is another NPC. Currently she's tied up and I need to kill this one tougher enemy to unlock her. And then she will give me the quest to find her in the town and get an item for her. You could go this way, down here, to get to the NPCs. I already know where to go. I just go right here to the exit immediately and to the next quest. But you don't need to do it this way. It's just personal preference. Okay, and for this item, for this way, I need a key. It says it's locked when I click on it, and this key will be given to me as a quest reward from the NPC that I just freed. And the thing that I have to do is here as well. And this is another flask, a utility flask that can drop, or, well, if you use it, you get some elemental resistances. So if you feel that you take lots of elemental damage, so fire, cold or lightning, and you're good at using flasks, then maybe this can help. I personally don't really think about flasks. I usually only use my Quicksilver flask and maybe a life flask at some point. And later on in the game, there are also ways that you can somewhat automate your flasks, so you don't have to think about it anymore. And that's usually the route that I go. Previously in the game, some leaks ago, this is the way we need to go. In some leaks ago, it was very common that from time to time you would just press your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keys in a row, that you just place your fingers on top and just press them all the time, every couple of seconds or so, to use all the flasks that you have, to keep the effect up. And, well, I was used to, but now that I think back to it, it could be actually quite annoying. Right now I prefer to automate them the way that they introduced some leaks back. It's now that I'm familiar with it, I'm quite liking it. Okay, we got some rare calling ones dropped already. I think I picked 2 rare ones and 1 magic one up by now. And the calling ones don't only have the implicit minion damage increase, but they also have the option to roll minion modifiers, so affixes and prefixes that benefit your minions. So maybe we get lucky and get something useful. Okay, here's the quest. Okay, I should stand back a little bit. There can be some higher damage. And of course they are fire and ignite resistant, so it takes longer. And her we need to defeat. Yes, that's what I was talking about. Higher damage. Okay, but you don't have to kill her. You just have to get her to a lower life and then she will just flee. Now I have the quest item. I could leave the area now if I wanted, but I'm looking for another Trial of Ascendancy here. So I will just stay a little bit longer. And here's the icon. You don't have to click this, I'm just used to it because I always like to hear what is being said when playing the game myself. And right here is a new type of trap, this fire floor right here. If I step on it, I take quite high amount of fire damage. So this could be a reason to maybe switch out my 25 life, which are not that useful right now that I have a high amount of life, to some fire resistance, because this decreases my fire damage taken by 30%, and this could be more beneficial. Actually, I don't know if it really works with this kind of fire damage, only with the one from enemies and such. I can't tell if it goes down slower. Okay, and here you can see I have actually missed one trial. And if I hover over it, I can now see the Chamber of Sins in Act 2. It's not yet completed, but this one is. For the other areas that I have not yet been in, it says unknown area. But I already was in the Chamber of Sins, so it tells me the name. Okay, now I'm finished here. I can just use my town portal to get to the Sun encampment. And now I can talk to these NPCs. And here, these are now the curses that I mentioned before. One of the enemies in, I think, the last episode, or maybe one before that, already used curses. But there are different kinds of curses. And like this one right here, for example, this is flammability. If I cast it on an enemy, it has a specific duration, and it reduces the fire resistance of the enemy, and also gives my minions, when they hit the enemy, a chance to ignite the enemy. We will use this one later on. Right now, during leveling, I usually am not really focused on using it, maybe on some bosses. Then conductivity, the same for lightning damage, frost damage. Then elemental weakness, that's overall elemental resistance is reduced, and some other skills. And here some more auras, and I will use Purity of Elements for my playthrough. I really like this aura in the beginning because it gives me lots of elemental resistances, so fire, cold and lightning, and it makes me immune to all elemental ailments, so I don't have to worry about being frozen. I cannot get slowed by chill, I cannot be shocked, and cannot be ignited, so it's very nice. But because this has a reservation of 50% mana, I have to give up something else. So that's something that I have to think about, what it will be. Now let's just take a look what we've got here. A little bit of a better life flask. With the magic ones, I always check because there are some affixes that I don't like during leveling, and I would like to avoid them. This mana flask I will keep because of the quality. And the minion ones, oh, here you can see the one affix minions deal 29% increased damage. That's also very nice. Would be a nice upgrade to the regular one that I have here. Just check the other ones. Okay, attack and cast speed for minions is also good. And this one has nothing for us. Okay, I think in the beginning I will go with either this one or this. I just have to check my sockets as well. The Tempest Shield I would not have to use right now. So let's just get all the exclamation marks out of the way. This is the keys that I need to go down. Usually I would hurry up here a bit so I can go back to the area while the area is still explored. Because if you can remember, if I'm staying out of an area for too long, then the area will reset and I would have a new layout and will have to explore it from the beginning. But right here, I will make a new tab, and this is for my Vaal skill gems that I find if I decide to use the recipe for the Vaal orbs later on. So then I will clear up my inventory. This one I keep.
See you.
Okay, because now I would have one jeweler's orb, so I could try, maybe if I use it, maybe I get lucky and get all 3 sockets. Maybe they are also already blue. That would be nice. Then I could just resocket all my gems. But honestly, for me it's not worth it in the beginning to do so. So the minion speed I don't really need because it's not linked to anything, and leveling it does not give me that much of a benefit right now. Also, the early levels of a gem only need a very low amount of experience, and the further you progress in the game, well, in the campaign in this stage, the more experience each enemy killed gives you. So if you level up gems later, the first 15 to 16 levels are you will be getting very, very fast. So it's not really that big of a deal. Tempest Shield is also for later use. The Coral Ring I don't need anymore, I will just destroy it. And now let's go to the hideout and check out the mana reservation situation. So if I unsummon my skitterbots, actually let's just remove the gem. And let's see. So right now it is colored, so I can use it, and if I look, okay, I have clearly more than half my mana available. So if I use it, I only have this much mana left, only 37 mana. And each cast of Summon Raging Spirit costs 14. So if I just hold it, very low. I don't really like this. So now if I look at my skills, I have 6 skill points. And if you can remember, here are the mana reservation efficiency nodes. So how many points would I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would get me here. And then I need 4 more to get all these. I think that's the plan for me, because I do want my life regeneration, but I also want my mana reservation, my mana regeneration, and I do want my ailment immunity and resistances. So I will just go here. I will even skip this notable, even though it would give me quite some life. But my goal is just to get this reservation efficiency, so I can have all 3 hours up at a time. Okay. Then that's that. And now, because at the moment I even can socket skitterbots back right there. And now I can just change the flesh offering, change the wand. I have increased my minion damage by 28 because this implicit has 15, this one 16, plus the 29 extra from the modifier, from the affix. Okay, that means I also don't need this one right here. We'll destroy it as well. And these 2 gems I will, this one at least. I will use later. The minion speed I don't really need anymore. Probably. Let's see, maybe I will use it later. Okay, so now that is sorted out. And now let's see if this is still explored. Okay, yes, the area is still explored. I will actually cut here for now and end the episode. I will continue playing and the next episode will just restart from here, but it's already pretty long again. So have a good day. I hope you have fun playing the game and see you later. Goodbye.